Hi, I wanted to go over Ephesians 2, James 2, Roman Catholic Apologists, and the word concept fallacy. Now, what the word concept fallacy is, or at least the way I'm going to explain it, is that someone confuses the exact word for having a specific concept. So, an example of this would be the word Trinity isn't in the Bible, so the concept isn't in the Bible. Or that the same word always has the same meaning. So I see the word over here, I see the word over here, and I just assume it means the same thing. So it's just to distinguish between the concept and the actual literal words. And now one of the ways I think we see that a lot in Roman Catholicism is, or at least with the Roman Catholic apologists, is in the doctrine of sola fide. So I'll see it in two. I actually saw this in reference to Ephesians 2, 8 through 10. And while I want to go over more of this passage at a later time, let's just go to the passage. It's pretty well known. For by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not your own doing, right? It is the gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast, for we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, okay, which God prepared beforehand, that we should walk in them. So I'll go over this passage more at a later date, but what you'll hear is, well, hey, Jeff, or random person on Twitter, faith alone isn't in here. Well, no, but it does say apart from works. What's left over apart from works? Nothing to do with works, just faith, okay? So what we'll have is, but you'll see this in another way. We see this most common. It's like the only place you see faith alone in the Bible is James chapter 2. And you know what? That is correct. All right. Let's expand this here. Hold on a second. All right. So it is correct. So you'll hear that the only place you will see the words faith alone in the Bible is in James chapter 2. What is it? Verse, verse 24. All right, let's look at this. You see that a person is justified by works and not by faith alone. Now, it's not my purpose to cover James 2 here. That can get involved. I will post a video where I think it's done rather well. There's plenty of places that have done it. But the point is that what is going on when you're hearing this from a Catholic apologist is the word concept fallacy. They are not understanding, excuse me, and actually the solution involves them not understanding that words can have different meanings in different contexts, like the word justify or the word faith. Paul and James are using those differently. So just because faith alone is used here, all right, and justified by works and not by faith alone, doesn't mean Paul and James are using it in the same way. It doesn't mean that the concept is not found in the Bible. Now, none of this is a very thorough defense of the concept of what we see in the Bible. But what the narrow point I'm trying to drive home here is that you have to dig deeper. You can't just settle for throwing back proof text. You actually have to get into it. So just shallow things like, the faith alone is not in the Bible, or, just throwing Ephesians 2 out on our side and not defending it further, which I will do at a later date. You don't want to be so shallow on either side. And anyone who's throwing out shallow arguments, just recognize it for what it's for. You can't really be doing this sort of argumentation well over Twitter anyway. If a person is not going to listen or doesn't want to engage in more in-depth argument, well then you just don't waste your time. Ask them if they want to engage in in-depth argument, but if they're not, or that applies to anybody from an independent fundamentalist Baptist to on the one side over here to a strict traditionalist, sedevacantist Catholic on the other side over here. This type of argument is akin to running into a Muslim who says, "Where does Jesus say, 'I am God, worship me'?" All right? The argument, that type of argumentation is shallow and bad, and all sides should attempt to avoid it. Now, their argument could be true, but we can examine it upon further examination. You have to dig into things. There's no substitute for actually working through a text. So later we will work through Ephesians 2, 8 through 10 to show why. Excuse me. Hopefully that's not the corona or the Bud Light virus. Ephesians chapter 2 to show why that does support sola fide. All right, talk to you later. Bye.